Morning everybody. It's March the 3rd. Yesterday we had a load of snow. This morning we've had a hard frost. It was -2 up our way. It's Sedges, the 4th round of the Silver League. Really got to pull our finger out a little bit today, or at least get a little bit of luck. We've had a first, second and a third. I think I did leave a point in the peg where we had the third, but the other two, I don't think it was ever possible to win the sections, to be honest. There was £38, wasn't there, caught in the corner on one of the matches, which was the third round, which unfortunately I lost the footage, apologise, but we couldn't have been pegged any further from the corner. So I don't think really we could have done a lot more. And then the first match, if you remember, Steve was up in peg 40 in the corner, but it was lovely and sheltered. He's had a beautiful match, sort of tapping in pellets with a cab pot and catching with expanders. And then the rest of us have been in like a right, it's been blowing a hoolie. And we've had a second in section with £10. So again, we were sort of miles off. So I don't think we could have done a lot more. I do think we left 1 point in the peg, as I say, in that third round. We really need a little bit of luck today. We've had a hard frost. I think it could start quite slow today, which might suit us. A little bit of a negative match, little tiny balls of ground bait, fish that 11-metre line, a little bit like we did in the teams of 4, but don't deter from it this time. But I have brought a waggler down today. It has been doing some damage, hasn't it? So we might throw that around a little bit towards the latter part of the match, maybe with corn, maybe with maggots. Right, let's go and have a breakfast, and I'll see you on the bank.
Thanks for joining me, everybody. Sedges, Silver League, round 4. As we mentioned earlier, first, second and a third. We really need a first today, to be honest. Competition down here is very stiff. All 40 anglers down here can catch fish, and I've not been down here for a couple of years, so I'm a little bit out of sync with it. So we need a result today. So just cab potting, as you've seen there, a tiny ball of sort of stodgy ground bait, starting really negative. Hoping not to fish a negative match, but I just don't want to go too far out into my peg. I don't want to blow my peg. We had -2 last night. It's very clear. It's very bright. It's very flat, isn't it? So we don't want to go mad. And then we just keep our eyes around us, see what's going on in the section as well. And I've given myself sort of 20 to 30 minutes just to see what happens before we make any major decisions. Oh yeah, that's tiny, isn't it? And this one feels a little bit better. As I was saying, the trouble is when you don't come down somewhere, it's all about time, isn't it? And I can't recommend enough to you. If you've got time to go and practice somewhere before a series and things, do it. Just go and practice. Even if it's pleasure fishing, you'll still learn some things. I've really not got time to do things like that at the moment. I try a bit of what we call cheap practicing, and what I'll do is try and ring somebody up who I feel knows it fairly well and ask them questions. You don't necessarily need to fish like them, but you'll know little bits from what they tell you, whether the fish want to be on the bottom, what sort of weights are winning, etc. All these things can all then be brought into your own game plan. But we've not got time to practice, etc. So we've just come down every match already and just tried to sort it on the day. But at least today we're not fighting a wind, are we? Which is just nice for a change. And that's not a bad fish. So no more fish followed. We tried that line again for another 5 minutes and not a thing. So we're just going to put in like a thumbnail's worth of little stodgy ground bait now that is tiny top ups. As I say, I'm just sort of keeping my eye open on the lake in my section, mainly my section really, um, and just trying to put a few fish in the net for the first half an hour while we think about what we're going to do. And that isn't really what we were hoping for. That's quite a small skimmer. I, yeah, I just feel there's so many quality skimmers in here, and bream. Um, but we'll keep trying it for a little bit. Again, just a small fish, isn't it? Already I'm feeling like this is wrong now, to be honest. Yeah, this is even worse. This is a tiny roach. So, yeah, we're going to make a change now. So we're going to feed a few micros at 14.5 meters. Now, the only reason I've gone 14.5 is to keep it well away from that 11 meter line in case we need it again. I'm just going to put a few micros in. It's not many. And a few hook samples. So I put a few 3mm expanders and 4mm expanders in there as well. And then we go back to the 11 meter line whilst that's settling for 10 minutes. And I missed what looked like a real good bite then on a 4mm expander, and believe it or not, the fourth match in the series, that is the first proper bite I've had on a 4mm expander, and I love that sort of fishing down here. So I've topped up the 11 meter line there, as you see, with a little sort of walnut ball size of stodgy ground bait, because I feel confident enough to stay on that 14.5 meter line now for 15 minutes and give this pellet a really good try. It's still early enough in the match, and you can see the keep net there down in the water, so you can see how clear it is. It's bright as well, isn't it? Yeah, we've got a skimmer now, not a bream, but not and definitely a net skimmer. And I think that's the way to fish this place, is fish for those net skimmers. And if a bream comes along, it's bonus, isn't it? So the float's a little bit different there because we're fishing that bit longer. I need to see the bristle. My old eyes aren't so good as they were. So on that, I'm fishing like a 1.5 mil bristle, um, and it's a sort of sensible skimmer. And yeah, that's a 0.6 float, but a wire stemmed, but a bodied float, and I did miss a bite with it as well. And I had a couple of touches before I had that one. I just feel my pencil float is right, which is my 0.41. So what I'm doing now is going past my 11 meter line. I'm ignoring that now, forgetting about the feed I've put in there, and I'm replumbing it 13. And whilst I'm plumbing it, I'm going to drop a cab pot of micro in there, as you can see. So I'm feeling like pellet is right. It's a little bit deeper there, so I'm pushing my 2 number 8 back shot up, taking my float up. I only want to fish this rig about an inch on the deck with how the conditions are. An inch on the deck, 0.4 pencil float, so barely any resistance. And although it all sounds quite negative with a 0.7 hook length and 22 hook and all the rest of it, the droppers are really positive. I'm not expecting massive weights, but the droppers are like number 8s for the bulk shot and 2 number 9s as droppers, so really quite positive. Above a 6-inch hook length just because of the clarity of the water. And lovely, there you go. We got one on that 13-meter line. Yeah, and I just think pellets are going to be right today. That's what you want, those sort of 8 to 14 ounce fish, absolutely perfect. And you can also see we're feeding ever so just short of the end of our pole, and then we just fish ever so just past it. Yes, it's been quite steady. Not really bagging or anything, but it's just been nice and steady. Feel like we're doing the right thing, and just sticking to our guns. Really, this 13-meter line, and catching a few net skimmers. I've not felt the need to up the kit either. I sort of thought about putting on a heavier hook length than that, but I'm losing nothing. I feel like I'm holding my own in the section quite easily, to be honest, at the moment. So yeah, I've not felt the need to change anything. Get a little ripple now and then, the sun goes in as well, but then it comes back out, and it's but very manageable, the conditions. The only strange thing I'll say about the pellet fishing today is generally when I fish pellets down here, in the past I came down here about once last year, I think, and stood in for somebody, and then another year I sort of it came down. We came down for the teams of 4 as well, I think, last year. But otherwise, like apart from once or twice a year, I've not really been down for a couple of years. But in the past, you sort of generally have to fish up behind the bait. But today, everything I've caught, sort of net skimmer wise, has been right on top of where I put the micro in, which is just really weird. You don't normally see it like that at all. So we've just gone out on the 14.5 metre line then, as you've seen. So I gave that a little top up and went out there because that 13-metre line is definitely slowed, which is no surprise really. You know, we took a few fish off it, but on that 14.5 metre line, they were all tiny fish. So I've decided, as I've set it up, to have a quick look at the waggler. It's something I really wanted to try. I don't know whether it's the right thing to do or not. It's typical. We got a little bit of sort of left to right coming into us wind as we go to try it, but I wanted to give it a go. So just, yeah, double red maggot, and we've got one on. And I struck to the left there because I'm just striking the bow out of the water, if you know what I mean. If you look at the way your line goes into the water off your rod tip, it'll tow one way or the other like a bow, and you need to strike. It's hard to explain really, but you need to strike sort of not the way the bow's going, the opposite. So as you don't have to straighten the line. The bow just pulls round and you hook the fish. You can strike up in the air as well, of course, but I think with something like Maxima, old school, I'm afraid, real old school Maxima main line, it'll sink. So side strike I find is better. So we've had one on the waggler, which is lovely. Nice change, isn't it? I'd like to fish it all match really, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stop because I feel I'm doing all right in the section, and I just feel putting those maggots out there in that wind, I'm not accurate enough, and I just think I'm going to kill me pole lines. So back on the pole at 13 metres. I've just started looking past the feed, as you can see, but it's tiny fish. As I said, really strange to catch sort of the quality skimmers or net fish right on top of the feed. And 2 pegs to my left now has caught 2 of the new bream that have gone in. There's actually been, I think it was 75 new bream stocked into this lake, and a few less in the other lakes, but they're all like £4 to £5, and I think he's had 2 for £9 down there. I don't know what else he's caught with it, but yeah, they're eveners, aren't they? There's a lot of bream in here anyway, mind, but they're sort of £2.5 jobbies. You know, £3 is really a good one, but these new ones gone in are £4 minimal. And yeah, I'm not overly worried at the moment. I'm not sure what he's caught with them. Typically not long afterwards, 2 pegs to me right, he's just had one as well, £4. So now I'm wondering, are they suddenly having a go, and am I being a bit negative and missing out on them? That's just lovely fishing though, isn't it? And what a glorious day. Look at it. Beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely stunning day. Roll on the summer. So again, just another nice net skimmer in it. Love this sort of fishing. Some of the bites have just been so cute. I mean, that's a 1.25 bristle, that one, and I've got that dimpled right down. If you put a number 13 shot on it, it's under, gone by miles, you know, it really is. And we have a little bit of a weird stage now. We suddenly, we foul hook one or two fish, and we catch one or two small ones as well, and it just feels like they've gone a little bit weird. And I can't line them up with sort of net skimmers as easy as we were. So I use I sort of feed it 13 now, and then use the dolly butt and try going past the feed, which is the way we used to catch down here. And if the fish get a little bit shy, you know, they can back off, can't they? It's always worth a look. Always use my dolly butt on all sorts of fishing. If you ever break a section, you know, one of your major sections, your sort of graphic sections, if you like, never throw it away. Always cut it down, sand it off, and use it as a dolly butt in all your sections. You know, it's such a good way to just check past your feed. But we drop back over the feed, and again, it's just small fish, isn't it? We've been feeding tiny amounts of micro, one or two expanders, and it was working well, and now it isn't. So we're going to have a little think, I think. Another nice little run of fish. What we find is, instead of putting in sort of 20-25 micros and a couple of expanders, which is 4 mils, because that's what we're catching on now, so that's the only sort of hook samples I've been putting in. Hookless putting in 3s. If we're not putting them on the hook, and if we did put on the 3s or even 2 mil expanders, come to that, we were just catching smaller fish, so I preferred waiting on a 4 mil for a sort of net skimmer, really. But what we find is, by putting in a hoe cab pot, that might not sound a lot, but that's, you know, a couple of 100 micros at least. But by putting in a hoe cab pot, and then waiting, we timed it with our little matrix clock thing there. I do find that very handy, though, I have to admit. I used to use an old-fashioned stopwatch before that, but yeah, 6 or 7 minutes and they come back. You get a little run of anything between 2, 3, maybe 4 net skimmers. As soon as you start getting an odd little liner, a foul hooker, a tiny fish, that's a sign to feed again. So it's out with another full toss cad pot, and then just sort of wait it out again. But what I've been doing for those 6 or 7 minutes whilst I'm waiting is just going behind the feed and catching one or two smaller fish just to keep myself ticking over. I haven't really sort of thought, oh, let's feed at that 14.5 metre line again or anything like that, really, because I just feel how bright it is, and the pressure on the water now with the amount of anglers is just making it harder. I don't want to split my fish, so that's what we've been doing. And 4mm expander, like I say, has been the best, just over straight micro all day, right on top it as well when they're there. Can't be simpler, can it? The only thing I will say is the expanders. I've had some good expanders in the past, and at the moment I'm struggling to find any. So if anybody out there knows of some good ones, and I don't mean brands. The brand, I mean, obviously some brands are a little bit better possibly than others, but I think just once you come across a good expander, really, regardless of brand, um, you know, if you come across a good one and a good bag of expanders, then go back in the shop and buy a few bags, because they seem to vary so much, so much. You get an expander to pump it and have it not break up throughout the day for a 5 hour match is a big ask, to be honest. But what I have found with expanders, I will share with you, is that the less you can pump them, the better. I tend to use one of the sort of ringer pumps, which is the long sort of funnel type ones. And what I do is fill it up with pellets, or however many pellets you want in there, fill it up with water, pump it only once, and then you take the sort of pump off of it and top the water back up and pump it a second time. Don't pump it more than once without topping it up, because all you're doing is pumping air into the pellets rather than pumping water through them. And another trick as well is, instead of using water, but use oil, and that'll keep the pellets smaller, stop them swelling out so much. Try it. Experiment with it. I generally get 2 or 3 different bags of expanders, experiment with them, put them in little bait boxes in my little fishing den, and then go back and have a look. Sad, isn't it? But it's what we do, isn't it? We're all mad as anglers, we really are. But little edges like that, they go a long way, they really do.